Are you an entrepreneur, creative person, or in a transition to becoming one? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Success You podcast, where it's all about educating and motivating you with simple and easy to implement ideas. And of course, helping you create something amazing today. And now your host. She's a best-selling author, public speaker, and her deepest regret is not investing in Berkshire Hathaway when she had the chance. Susan R. Kiley.
All right, guys, today I have an amazing individual. I would like to welcome Miss Christy Whitman, bestselling author of Quantum Success, The Art of Having It All, Taming Your Alpha Bitch, and the absolutely brand new released, The Desire Factor, How to Embrace Your Materialistic Nature to Reclaim Your Full Spiritual Power. Christy, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be with you, Susan.
Yeah, I am too. We were just chatting a little bit offline before we hit record, and I have some questions to ask you. We're going to be talking a lot about your new book, The Desire Factor, but we're also going to be talking about the council because I'm very fascinated about that. But of course, we want to dive into who you are and what you're bringing today. Because I know, your whole thing is that you're here today to talk about how humans, how us people can mold our outermost desires, for things such as wealth, power, or even fame. And we put that into the building blocks for a deeper, more intrinsically valuable sense of self and purpose. And so I can't wait to dive in. Christy. So can you take me back to how this all started? Like how you started this whole journey.
Yeah. So 25 years ago, I was living in Chicago and I didn't have the language of manifest, create, that kind of thing back then. Right.
Right.
But it was more about accomplish. And so I accomplished pretty much everything I set out to accomplish that I thought was going to make me happy. Mm-hmm. And it was really depressing because I got all those things. I got the job, the money, the career, the what's it called? The degree, I had the engagement. I had the guy who was going to engage to be married. I had the perfect, proposal, all these things. And I was very unfulfilled and unsatisfied and started asking bigger questions like, really, is this it? I'm 25 years old. This is what it's all about. And I actually had an intervention by my best friend who told me that she's never seen me more unhappy. Mm. And so I slowly started to unwind things. I broke off the engagement, and started really doing a lot of reflecting. And in that time, I was starting to ask bigger questions like, what's this about? And, really, is this it? And this led me to meet a guy that was in California. He worked for my company. And so we were doing long distance. And I ended up asking my company to do a lateral move. And I moved to Northern California. Within weeks, we broke up because he was the last bad guy I had ever dated. Thank you very much. But he introduced me to a woman who was a friend of a friend of his, and she was a hairdresser. So I went and get my hair did. And we were sitting there talking and chatting. And I just noticed she was so different than anybody I'd ever met. And being as blunt as I am, I'm just like, okay, what do you do? And she says, I meditate. Now, for me, meditating back then, I never knew anybody that meditated. No. I thought of like some goober guy with a long beard, long hair and a white coat or whatever, right? White gown, whatever you want to call it, oming in the yogi position.
Yes.
So when Janine told me that she that she was meditating, it was like a whole paradigm shifted for me. And so I met her meditation teacher. And when I go to her meditation teacher's house, there was candles and incense and angel statues and clinky new age music. And she invited me to take a seat, not at a table, not at a couch, on the floor, on a cushion. And I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? But I was so open, right? And so first thing she said to me was, you create your own reality. And that was like a chicken being popped out of an egg. I was like, it was like, I knew that to be true. Again, this is way before the internet. I mean, there was stuff on the internet, but nobody used the internet back then. And it wasn't like this is common knowledge. To find this information, it was literally like I had to go seek it, search it by people like her that, worked at real jobs, right? She worked at a high school, but then behind the scenes, she was a psychic medium, right? She didn't do that for a full profession. And so she just started talking to me about thoughts and paying attention to my thoughts. And I started learning how to meditate. And what really made me understand is that I really had a perspective, a mindset that was rooted in lack. And I started shifting and becoming aware of what is mindset in abundance. And I started shifting it.
Yeah.
So I was just doing my own thing for 5 years, attracting really cool things, got my auto body. I met a really great, nice guy, first nice guy I ever dated. We got married, we bought a house, this whole thing. And then one night I'm meditating and I see a picture of a book. It said my name, title, everything. And it's my first book I wrote 20 years ago called Perfect Pictures. And I went to sleep. And at 1:05 in the morning, the download came and I was hearing a voice that was not my consciousness, was not my voice. So I got up and started writing and the pen just went. And I wrote for about an hour, totally forgot about it till the next morning. And then I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, right? Yeah. And 7 nights in a row, this happened. So I got the book published. Really fast forward, I got the book published. I started speaking in spiritual bookstores and churches. People started asking me to coach them, which back 20 years ago, I had no idea about coaching. My frame of reference, like the guy on the mountain was like, what, a football coach, a cheerleading coach, right? So paradigm shifted again. Wow, people do that. And so I started asking people to call me on the phone and I just was helping them shift their energy, have a better understanding of what I knew from, what I did and what I didn't do and mistakes I made. And they started getting amazing results. And so I was so passionate and felt so on purpose helping somebody else transform their lives that even as a pharmaceutical rep, that's what I was doing at the time. I was just following that path of becoming a coach. And so here I am 20 years later, 7 books later, I've certified over 3,000 law of attraction coaches. I went into being a coach to a healer to a channeler, and it's just constant involvement. So that's me.
Geez, like you've had an amazing journey. And I want to go back to how you've just stated you went from this to this to this. Can you explain like how those are different? Because are they the same, but they're not the same. They're different.
They're different. And yet they're on the same pathway. But a coach doesn't necessarily become a healer, become a channeler. It was something that my meditation teacher 25 years ago said to me, you're a channeler. And I was like, I don't know what that is.
Right.
Like,
what is a channeler?
It's someone that literally channels higher consciousness. So some people do it through books, right? Like I've been channeling for 20 years when you really think about it from books, right? It's someone that can get that guidance and in a session with a client, hear something, see something, communicate to the client. It's perfect for that person. That's a channeler, So I'm one person, channel where my consciousness goes out and the council's consciousness comes in, which you have seen. My eyes are closed. I have an accent, different tonality. You could tell it's 2 different people. It's, it's wild and it's such a blessing. And it's such a, it's just so fantastic. I'm so grateful. So yeah, it's been a progression. Not all coaches go through that progression, right? But for me, since I talk and coach on universal principles, when I was learning how to meditate, my meditation teacher was teaching me also how to open up the healer in me. Right. So for me, it all kind of was around the same thing and just really was this embodiment of these different things that I had to step into. And the more I leaned in, the more my skills, the tools got sharpened and, that sort of thing.
So do you think, I want to stick here just for a second. So do you think all coaches or those that go into coaching and into healing will become a channeler or no? Is that just for a very select few that are given that power and that ability or no?
We all have the ability to do that. It's
Really?
just yeah. Oh yeah. But some of us open up to it. I mean, I know some people that quietly, like Melanie, my meditation teacher, like publicly, she was so brilliant and such a channel, but she never publicly went out, right? And she just kept it for herself and these handful of clients. And it was amazing because I remember at the time when I met Melanie, she had gotten kind of hurt by a client. She was working in a school superintendent kind of thing. And she decided she wasn't going to work with people anymore in that way. And I literally was like, banging on, no, you have to. And then when I sat with her, she was resistant for me to sit with her. I was like, oh my God, and she's like, uh-oh, because she could see the opening that happened. And yet I was just so appreciative to her and so grateful to her. And I was like, I want to learn more. And then she taught me this deeper type of meditation called light body, which I also ended up teaching for years.
Okay.
And she's like, I was closing my door to all that, but you opened it up for me because she could see my willingness. And, so it was something that I was driving. I've been following. It's a calling that I've had. Some people don't have that call.
Wow. I'm fascinated by all of this because I do a lot of research and I do a lot of reading, and I'm fascinated by the whole channeling and, your new book, The Desire Factor, and how to reclaim your full, spiritual power. I'm just very intrigued by all this. So can you talk a little bit about your new book, The Desire Factor?
Yeah. So this is a book that, again, all my books channel through me. This one was interesting though, because it came through and then it was like on pause. And it was interesting because I felt like, okay, it needs to be just put away for a little bit. Right. And then when the council started full on channeling through me in 2018, that's when the momentum started picking up again for this book. Wow. So the wisdom in the book, the energy in the book, just if I even just show you the cover, it's like, it's like an energy movement in it, and just holding it, right? One of my friends and colleagues, Marie Diamond, said that she's like, you could just ask this book a question and get your answers. She's like, this isn't just a book. This is a teacher. It's a conversation. And it is, because the council's infused it, which is such beautiful energy that every single word, every single page, and the wisdom, the information, the processes, where the council calls this a portal, right? It's like you go through a portal because of the different bonuses that you get when you buy the book, and the different meditation / activations that they provide, that we provide together. So that's like just in general what that's about. But the desire factor is really about understanding that desires are kind of like the spiritual breadcrumbs of our lives. Okay. Because it's a desire that lands in us that has us go, ooh, right? And it's almost like, wow, I've got to follow this desire no matter what my mind's telling me. No matter if my mind's telling me, oh, I can't do that, or who am I to do that? Right? I don't know how to do that, right? It's something that just literally calls you. And desires are, without desires, nothing ever gets created. Right. So whether it's a business or a relationship or a family or, nothing, think about it. If you didn't have a desire to buy a dog, you wouldn't get a dog. Right. It's always the desire that moves something forward. And for the human personality, we get to play with the thing, sleep with the person, have the money in the bank, go on the trips. We get to experience these things when they come to full fruition. But for the divine in us, it's always who we become in the process of attaining them. Right.
So can desires be bad? Like we can have good and bad desires, right? Or no?
Well, when you think about it this way, people have said for a long time, right, that desires are bad. Even the Buddhists say that desires are the root of all suffering. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm here to tell you, desire itself is the birthplace for creation. Right. It's having a desire and thinking that you can't have it, or believing that you can't have it. That is suffering. It's not desire that's suffering. Think about it. The planets and the stars and the whole galaxy would not be here if the divine didn't have a desire for it. None of us would be here.
True.
Whether your mom and your dad wanted to conceive you, they had a desire for each other.
Right.
Right. If they wanted to conceive you and have a baby deliberately, that was a desire.
Right.
All birthing starts with a desire.
Right.
Now, a desire, but it would be something else. If you have a desire to hurt or harm somebody else, yeah, that's not a good desire.
Right.
But desire comes from a higher place, right? That's more of a wanting of revenge. That's more of a wanting, like the let's just call them the desires that are there to, I want to prove myself. I want someone to love me. I want to be accepted. I want to get revenge on that person, right? These are the desires that are not life-giving. They actually bring us down and suck our energy. And we can feel the difference between that, ooh, right? Whether it's something material like, ooh, a purse or a pair of shoes or a trip or, whatever it may be, right? It's like that. Yeah. Oh my God, that lights me up. That excites me. I love that.
Yes.
Those desires are absolutely positive.
Right. So I think we all want and desire something more in life. I mean, yeah. I think we truly all want that. So yeah, so you just said a lot of stuff and I'm just soaking it all in because I'm like, absolutely. I mean, it's phenomenal. And, there's this question out there, and I've asked it to several people, and it's one of the questions that I know that we can tie into your book. But, what do the happiest and most successful people do with their desires?
They follow them. They flow with them. They allow them. They move in the direction of them. They align with them. They focus on them. They love them. They feel as if they're having it. It's all the steps that I talk about in the book, because the desire factor is literally a step-by-step approach. And what most people do when they're playing with their desires, when they're wanting to manifest their desires, we get pieces of the puzzle, but we don't know how to put them in the right order and like the right places inside of the puzzle. And creating desire is like having a padlock. If you have numbers out of order, that padlock isn't opening. And so it's a sequential order. And the steps are pretty quick once you know them. But what I love about what the council did with this book is that each and every principle is explained in a way that you really understand it so well. You're aware of it, understand it, and that you have the knowledge to apply it, because that's the key to any transformation, right? You have to have awareness of it in order to be able to change something. And then you have to learn how to apply it. And so that's what this really helps people do is literally like, this goes first before this. Like, don't take any action unless you're aligned.
Right. So do you see a common theme between these happiest and successful people? Like the top 3 desires that the happiest and the most successful people have? Do they all, you always see, billionaires have these 3 traits. I mean, do you see that happy people and successful people also have these 3 desires?
I wouldn't say there are 3 desires. I mean, because everybody has different ones. And in each person, regardless if you're happy and successful people, right? It's like the happy and successful people someone could want a marriage. Someone else could want a family. Someone else could want to become a grandparent. Someone else could want to travel. Think about just traveling. Someone could want to go to Bora Bora. The other one could want to go to Austria. So it's not that they all have, the same desires. None of us do. Right. And what's brilliant about that is that the divine knows its audience, right? The divine knows, if I give this desire to Susan, is she going to grab it and run with it? Or is it wasted on her? Meaning like she's not interested. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, Marianne Williamson, who was my initial teacher 25 years ago, one of my desire factors was to have her endorse the cover of my book. And she did. Yes, that was my desire factor come true. But Marianne, several years ago, got the desire to get into politics. So she ran for, governor of California. She didn't get the position. She didn't get in office, right? But then here she has this, some would say, well, she didn't make it, right? But then she gets this desire. It is given to her to run for president of the United States.
Right.
Now, most of us would say, well, I didn't even make governor.
Right.
Oh, what makes me think I'm going to be president?
Right.
She didn't care. She followed that desire because it was given to her from her divine God, right?
Yeah.
And so she followed it. Now, Marianne didn't become president of the United States, but who she became in the process of that, and all the other people that were influenced by her wisdom, her energy, all of that. Yeah. That's what the divine was wanting from that, right? Now, think about this. I actually had clients tell me, because the divine knows not to give this to me. I had clients say to me during the what's it called, election, mm-hmm. Christy, you should run for president. And I was like, oh, hell no. I was like, no. Let's just be super clear. That is not a desire. Nowhere want to go to. I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Right.
Divine knows me, knows that even if that desire came in, I'd be like,
right.
No. Right. So I'm not going to get that from my co-creative divine partner.
Right.
Because it's going to be a wasted desire.
So Christy, like I have two questions for you that go on this. One is, and I don't want to forget them, but one is, how do we know when the divine is speaking to us and giving us these here, this is your desire. The divine has given me that. How do we know when that happens?
It's that ooh moment, like ooh. Right? So it's the driving down the road and you're in a car that maybe you don't like so much, and you're like, I'd like to buy a new car. And then all of a sudden a car, it's happened to me years ago. I was like, I want to get a new car. I had my big, I had a big SUV, right? I had an Edge because I had the 2 car seats in the back. Yep. And I'm like, this is so not me. And I got to a place where I'm like, I want a new car. And I'm like, what kind of car would I like? And I saw, I was going out for dinner with my husband. I saw this beautiful Lexus. And I was never a Lexus girl, but I was like, what is that car? That for me was a, right. And I was looking at it and I was like, oh my God. Right. And then I'm like, I want to go test drive that car. And I got in it. I'm like, oh, it like just hugs my body and it's fun and it feels sexy. And I was like, yes, this is what I want. Right. And it was that ooh moment. Right.
Yeah.
But that's materialistic. But it felt good. I was free to get that car. Why is that bad? Everything here is energy. Under all forms, everything is energy. Under all forms, whether it's a car, a plant, a body, a computer, a cell phone, everything is energy. All the things we want to draw to ourselves, relationships, money, career success, well-being, all of it's energy. The tangible and intangible, all of it is energy. So if all of it is energy and all energy is the divine, why is a Prada purse bad?
Right. It's not. Absolutely.
And that's what we have to let ourselves, if we feel like, ooh, I would love that. That ooh is life going, yes, let me live through you. Let me expand myself. Let me, that's the juice. That's how we know we have those ooh moments. If more of us were having ooh moments, right? And we follow that energy, more of us would be connected. We wouldn't be competing and yelling, and I could have my opinion, you could have your opinion, and more of us would be connected and happy. That's what happy, successful people do. They follow their own energy stream and they allow themselves to have their desires. Doesn't matter what the desires are. They allow themselves to have those desires. They follow the steps to get their desires. Yes, they take action.
Right.
But they know they're co-creating with something bigger than themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And with that, like something amazing happened during all that. Like when you were talking before, and then I asked you that follow-up question. So my friend that I told you about that has lived in Arizona since we graduated from college, he's always said that I'm very, very special. There's something about me and that something big is going to happen at some point in my life and all this. And so when we talk about desires, I've always had this desire to be able to speak and talk to incredible human beings. And something in my life happened 2 weeks ago, and it just wasn't the right fit for me, I guess, because this other part of what I've always desired was still nagging at me. And while we're speaking, just to let you know, I have all these goosebumps right now because I'm doing what I've always desired to do. I'm talking to you. I am not a Marianne Williamson. I am not a Lisa Nichols. I am not these big, amazing people taking the world by storm and just changing life and just being incredible and just doing amazing things. And so for me, like, this is a very amazing, it's a phenomenal opportunity to be able to do this and to hear you. And it like clicked for me when you're talking about our desires. And that's always been my desire, is just to talk to incredible human beings. Not necessarily to share my story, but to hear your story and to hear, how this came about, because we grew up in the area where we didn't have computers, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have all of this stuff. And so you're right. We had to find other.
We didn't have remote controls when I was a kid. We had to actually get off the couch and go over and turn the dial.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a push. It was a turn of the dial. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then if you wanted the whatever was like the AM of the TV kind of thing, there was like, you had to turn. I mean, it was like, it was ridiculous, but yeah.
Yes, we had the big TV. After we got out of the black and white, we had the big TV that was heavier than all get out.
With the big fat back,
Yeah. It was so horrible. But I mean,
but it was part of the journey, right? You couldn't have screen TVs and all the streaming, stuff if we didn't have all that stuff before it.
Yes, absolutely. And so when we talk about desires and when you're talking about desires, it like clicked for me and I'm like, oh my stars, like, absolutely. Like, that's why I asked you that question. Like, how do you know when it happens? And as I'm listening, I'm like, wow, this is the moment. It's giving it to me. It's giving me that power. It's giving me what they think that I can handle. And this is what I can handle. And I can, share it with other people. And so it's pretty phenomenal. But you always talk about getting back to, you talk about the council. Can you share, what is the council? I know a lot of people are like, she talks about the council, but what is the council?
So the council is a group of very high ascended masters. If you look at it from like a multidimensional perspective, they're really high consciousness and energy.
Okay.
And when they come through, I invite them in. They come in. My consciousness goes out. So they are this just infinite wisdom that comes through, and they have come here to partner with me to help other people that are resonating with the information that I've shared for the past 20 years on law of attraction and energy mastery, and really how to help us integrate and be luminous as a human being so that we're living our best life. So we're living in the blueprint, the divine design of well-being and abundance and success and love.
Right.
And so that we understand our power to be able to create a life that we want, to get out of the drama and the chaos and the victimization, and to really, enjoy this very short, but very fun experience.
So do you have to ask them specific questions? Like, do you ask them specific questions, or they just kind of take over and just kind of run with it when you're with someone?
Both.
Really?
Yeah. So here's what they bring. Here's what's interesting and why they're very different from other people that channel other beings is the energy that they bring is like, whoa, I don't know if you could see that or feel that in the videos that you saw, but the energy is just incredible. And when you're talking with them, either one-on-one or in a group, it's like, you just immediately resonate with this higher energy. And that's what's important, is that, when we as human beings, we feel it when we're with someone that's in the dumps, like we feel our energy, but the same is true when we are with someone that has a really high energy. You could feel yourself expand, right? Well, they come in. I mean, I have to keep my energy high, and they have to lower their energy just to have the mix. And when they come in, it's like, right. So there's that. Then the information that comes through is just, the way they say things and the analogies that they give and the way they turn things in perspective is just really amazing. And then on top of it, they're infinite intelligence. They see things and they're healers. So in order for them to choose me, I had to be a healer.
Right.
Right. So they literally It's been amazing watching them transform people's lives, because they always know the exact certain like point when a person has gotten imprinted or blocked, and how to help them release it. So they'll dial into someone and say, okay, you were 12 years old, about 12 and a half. I mean, sometimes they get specific to the month that it happened, when the imprint happened, help them release the imprint, move through this. Because when you release the imprint, when you release the pain in the body, the pain body, you bring in higher energy, you bring in light. So you turn into a love body instead of a pain body, and imprinted, conditioned. And so, I could go into like energy and imprints and all this kind of stuff, but it's always amazing the person afterwards, like, oh my God, they knew they knew something I never told anybody. Right. And they don't go into the story. They don't care about the story. They see the imprint and they want to help you release it. And so the client will always tell me after, because I get to see the before and after, and the client's like, oh my God, when I was 12 years old, they pinpoint the exact like month and time. My parents got a divorce and my mom took me across to a different country. And that just broke my heart, because I never got to see my dad again until I was older, and it was like, wow. I mean, that to pinpoint that exact time, it's pretty remarkable. And it's always different for obviously every person.
Right.
They always get it. Yeah.
Right. So it's like the council finds the bad that's happened in the past, so we can release it to move on, to live in our current moment, and also live our best life in the future.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Has there been times where afterwards, like when you're out of it, like, do you remember everything that happens?
Here's the best way I can describe it. My consciousness goes out as if I was sleeping. So, like when you wake up and you have a recollection of a dream, right?
Right.
Well, sometimes
but you can never remember that dream after like 2 minutes.
Sometimes like my portal is pretty open. So I can remember some dreams. I can't remember all the details of the dreams.
Okay.
Right. But I might go, hey, that person was in my dream. The other night I had a dream that a bunch of clients that I work with on Wednesday nights, I was on a computer with them on a helicopter, and I was getting flown into Sedona onto Mark Wahlberg's. I work with celebrities. So I'm at Mark Wahlberg's house, and I'm walking in his house with my computer. There's no internet connection or anything, but people are still there. And I'm talking to them as if I'm on Zoom. And then I look over at them, and all my clients look like they're in a Vanity Fair cover. Like they're all, like it wasn't the Brady Bunch, squares that you see on Zoom. Right. And so like, I remember those exact details. Right. But when I come out of a session with the council, I'm like, it's like, I'm totally blank, unless you were to say, you know what? They took me to the top of Sedona mountain, a mountain in Sedona. Right. And then I might go, oh yeah. It's like, I can kind of recall that. Right. They did this process with me, and I'm like, oh, it's like a little dreamy. I can't get all the, I don't know all the details. I don't know what they said. I don't know exactly what they did, but I could get glimpses of the dream, so to speak.
Right. So do you think that's the council's way of protecting you as the person that the council comes through, so that way you don't have to burden or take on all of, all of your clients' past?
Well, there's a number of things. So they give me a full washing. So that's part of it. Yes. And it's more to protect the client, but it's also so that they can fully come through, they fully embody. Because if we were both kind of half in and half out, right? It's like, can they fully embody? So I go out, they come in, it's their show. And it's I'm a celebrity coach. So I work with a lot of celebrities and athletes. And they're very private, and they, want privacy. And so that's the great thing, is that I don't know what the heck they talk to the council about. Right. So they love that, Right. So, and everything's obviously confidential with them. So.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, I think that's great. I'm fascinated by it. And, obviously protecting all your clients and protecting everybody, no matter who it is and their past. To kind of give, listeners and viewers, background that if you were to speak to you or anybody else, it's not like you're going to know once you come out of the council, what I mean? Like after the council leaves, that they're not going to know. Because I think a lot of times people might get weary of that or leery of what's really happening. So, what's a secret desire that most people have?
Money.
Really?
Yeah. Because when you think about it, everybody always wants more money. No matter how much you have, you want more money. But most people don't admit that. Because, if you say I want more money, then you're greedy, and we don't want to be greedy, because it says that, for the love of money, it's the love of money in the Bible. That's the root of all evil.
Right.
It actually wasn't the love of money. It was greed is the root of all evil, but still people don't want to seem greedy. Right. But so I always say, hey, let's really mess up people. Let's decide, long before you and I ever were born, let's decide that we need this thing called money. And in order for me to eat, to have shelter, to have transportation, clothes on my body, whatever it is, I need this thing called money to buy these things, right? So I do things of value with my talents and skills to, get this thing called money. And then to get other stuff, I exchange it, right? But then on the other side, in the Bible, it says, it's the love of money that's the root of all evil. So I can't appreciate and love money because then I'm going to be evil.
Right.
So it's this split within our own mass consciousness, within our own ancestral consciousness, within our own societal consciousness, with all of it,
Right.
It's a split. So most people's desire to have more money so that, for some people, it's like they want to be billionaires. Other people want to be millionaires. Other people just want to have an extra $100 a month so they don't have to struggle every single month. Right? Other people are like, I just want to take a trip.
Yes.
Right? I just want to take a nice trip. Other people are like, I just want to send my kids to a better school. I want to get out of this neighborhood. I'm tired of struggling. I want to be able to retire someday.
Right.
And not do this job that I want to retire from it. So all of us, there's always, even the people that are, again, top celebrities and athletes, they want to still make more.
So do you think we get those desires if we speak them instead of holding them in or saying the opposite? So like for the longest time, I always said, it's not about the money. It's not that it's not about the money. It's that I do desire more money, but I don't want my life to be about money.
Yeah. But it's like, I desire to have these things and the money that comes with it would be nice. Right. I desire to have career success and the flow of money also. Because now you're not constricting anything. You're being real and honest. But here's the thing that you asked. You don't have to speak your desires to anybody. It's a private conversation between you and you. Okay. And as a matter of fact, I would encourage anybody that has people in your life that are naysayers, worry words, that people, kind of poo-poo what we want. Yes. Don't share those desires, because then they're going to put their own energetic imprint onto your desire. And unless you're really solidified in that desire, it could influence you. Right. I remember when I was quitting my corporate job, my mom was all happy because I had a title. I was the sales training manager for a biotech company. I had a corner office. I had an office I went to. I had an office I closed the door. It wasn't a cubicle, and I made a paycheck, a nice one, every 2 weeks. Right. So my mom was like, okay, she's fine. And then one day I revealed to her, Mom, I've been doing this coaching thing. At this point, it was 5 years. This is what I love. This is what I'm on purpose with. I'm moving to Montreal to be with this French Canadian guy. And I've also quit my job. I'm starting my own coaching business. And she was like, what? First of all, doesn't understand why anybody would ever hire a coach. Even a couple of years ago, she's like, well, I'm happy. Now I wouldn't need a coach, right? I'm like, no, Mom, it's not like therapy, right? It's different, right? Tried to explain it to her tons of times. Doesn't understand law of attraction. I had them both sit down. My parents watched The Secret. 2 seconds later, they were bickering and arguing with each other, like minutes after. They were like, oh, that was positive. Didn't understand law of attraction. And then when I started my business, it was 15 years ago. Most people weren't doing internet businesses. They weren't coaching from home, know? And so she was like, you're not going to go anywhere. How do you get clients? How do the clients come see you? So it was just like, she didn't get any of it. And I could feel every time I called her to talk to her, every time she called me, when I saw Mom, I was like, okay, I need to center myself in this conviction of why I'm following this desire. What's this calling? What's this feeling? I'm on purpose, connected with that. And then I would be able to talk to her, because she'd be like, how's your job? How's your business? Like this very worried, afraid, and I'd be like, it's awesome. oh, okay. Why? Do you have clients? Are you making money? I mean, it wasn't like that sufficed her. She would continue on, but I had to stay solidified. And even when it wasn't like I had clients coming in and multi-million-dollar business, I was just starting out. So I'm kind of like, and I'm like, okay, I got to get solidified. Okay. My abundance is of the divine. It's not from the company I work for. If I could create it there, I could create it here. All the things I need to tell myself, solidification, get it all grooved into my body, and then talk to mom. And she'd be like, are you making any money? No. Yeah, I'm doing great, mom.
Right. So is it bad that we do that sometimes then? Is it bad? Like, I know some people will say one thing.
Is what bad?
Saying we're doing great. Like what we're doing is amazing, but it may not be going quite as well as what we're saying.
Here's where we need to be real and honest, right? Because in my own space, in my mind, with the coach I was working with at the time, that's where I would reveal, hey, it's a scary month, right? Hey, I've tapped into my savings, right? And to really feel the worry and the fear, to be able to be with it, process it, really bring in that energy of abundance rather than lack. I did my energy work. And then once I did that, then it was like, okay, and if I felt on a call with my mom that I got knocked off or I started feeling worried, that was mine to work on.
Gotcha.
So we have to be real and honest. Abraham Hicks says, they have an analogy. It's like driving down the road and your gas gauge goes to empty and you put a happy face sticker on it. You're going to run out of gas, right? You're going to run out of gas. So you got to take care of the tank. You got to gas yourself up. And that's really what it's like, is you have to be able to pay attention to your emotions. And that's what energy mastery is all about. That's what the desire factor is all about. It's understanding what is our consciousness, what do we have influence on, and how could we align ourselves? Because it's the first principle, alignment. If we're not aligned with our desire, we're split energy, and we're not going to be manifesting it as quickly and as easily as we'd like to.
Right. So within the desire factor, is there areas where people need a workbook or a notebook to start writing things down and doing exercises and tasks?
Well, here's the thing, what I did, because I am a person that reads self-help books. I've always been coached in that way by books. And what drives me nuts about self-help books, so I made it so that it doesn't do this. I have processes and exercises in the back of the book, but then I've got a guided meditation, right? So there's questions, but there's no place to write it, because are you going to really write it in a book? So when you go to the desirefactor.com and you buy the copy of the book, you get a workbook that is a companion that goes with the book. You get the audio of me going through these exercises, plus the guided exercises, because I would always drive me crazy, right? It's like, okay, sit comfortably and close your eyes. Well, wait a minute. If I close my eyes, I can't continue to read. Right?
You are so true.
How do I take several deep breaths? Okay, so now I got to close my eyes and take several deep breaths. Okay, I'm relaxing.
While you're still reading.
Where that I have to still read. So relax your body. Okay, it's a little bit easier to relax my body if I don't have to go read and find out what the next steps are. So I recorded them all so that you can get the book and have the audio so that you can literally just be guided by me going, hey, close your eyes. Take some deep breaths. Relax your body.
Brilliant. So what has been a book that has inspired you? Like, what's that one book that has inspired you that if you could tell everyone, this is what inspired me, I would highly recommend you go and get that book?
There's a book by Abraham Hicks that was written, I want to say it was almost 20 years ago, maybe 17 years ago now, called Ask and It Is Given. And it was the book that really shifted things around for me. I knew a lot. I was already applying a lot. But it was like, it made things click for me. And so that was the thing that was the book that really solidified things for me. And I've read it over and over again. It's been many years since I've read it since, but I've read it many times. Yeah.
All right. So how do you, Christy, define success?
It's really the joy that I'm feeling in the moment. It's the things that, yes, manifest, but I'll give you an example. I write out lists of things that, happen to me that are successes, that are manifestations of what I would call success. But today I was with a client and he was just gushing and mushing all over myself and the council and how much his life changed and how he's lost 20 pounds, not even having to be on a diet, and how his blood levels are better. His doctor's like, whatever you're doing, continue to do it. He's better. He's healthier at 65 than he's ever been in his life. He's more joyful. He feels more connected. He's just like really making more money. So he's going on and on about all these different changes. And as he's like appreciating the work that I've done with the council with him, I'm like, that's success. It's not about the stuff. All this stuff is cool, right? That's a symbol of success. It's the feeling of, wow, yep, it's the juice for me.
Yes, absolutely. I talk about that all the time. And I ask every single one of my guests their definition of success, because I mean, some people have money, but I think it's truly, for some people, it's just getting up. Some people, it's just taking that one step. It's being able to feed yourself. It's being able to write your book. It's being able to be on a podcast. It's being able to, talk, for my daughter, be able to be an amazing volleyball player. It's, all these different things. That's how I define success. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. I remember about a year into owning my own business, I had a friend of mine that did a lot of my internet marketing with me. And I was having kind of a down day. And he goes, how would you know you're successful? And I said, you know what? Honestly, if I could go to a spa every week and get a massage, that would be success for me.
Yes.
Right? Now it's like I get a massage therapist that comes to my house every week. It gives me a 90-minute massage, and I go and get acupuncture done, and I do hydrotherapy, and I get a rolfer, and I do Pilates, and there's a lot of things that I do for self-care. So myself back then would be like, yeah, she's successful. She could get a massage every week.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. Have you gotten everything that you've desired?
Yes. And still working towards two things that I wrote down in a list about 20 years ago. But, I keep getting closer and closer. But what's interesting about desires, right? I'll give you one of them is when I became a author 20 years ago, I wanted to go on the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Okay.
Right? And I just started following that desire. Right. And I literally bought a program from a PR person that was called How to Get on Oprah. Right. And I followed everything that I could. Right. And so, my desire at that time also was to become a New York Times bestselling author and to be on her show. Well, I've become a New York Times bestselling author twice, and then Oprah Winfrey Show stopped, right? She ended it, but then came out with this Super Soul Sunday, right? And so it was like a new spark of a new desire, right? But I still to this day, maybe soon, have not been on Super Soul Sunday or the Oprah Winfrey Show, but who I became in the process and all the lives I've touched and all those people like the client I was talking about today that have literally transformed their lives. I've been on the Today Show on the Hallmark Channel and done a TEDx. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I wouldn't have done in my career in PR and otherwise if I hadn't had that desire to be on Oprah. So if I never go on Oprah, who I became, and it's kind of like the Marianne Williamson, she did not become president of the United States, but who she became in the process was the key. Absolutely. If I never, and I'm surrendered, right? Would I love that? Yes, but I'm surrendered because it's like I can look back and go, that desire was the juice that led me to this beautiful career that I have.
Right. Do you keep adding desires?
Oh, always. I always think about when I had a desire. I was married before, and I was clear that the person I was married to wasn't the person I wanted to be married to. But I was, I said I do and I will. And we got in an argument. I wasn't specific enough, and we weren't talking to each other for he wasn't talking to me for a couple of days because I asked him for more love and support, and I wanted more in our relationship. He didn't like that too much, so he wouldn't talk to me. So 2 days into this, silent treatment, I walked up to him and I said, this isn't working. And I meant living together, not talking. And he took his ring off and said, fine, I'll give you a divorce, and threw it at me. And I was like, okay, that's good. Right. So that gave me freedom. And I found my ideal partner who I've been with for 15 years now, my husband, Frederick. So we got together. I found him, desire, check, right? We moved in together because we were living apart. I was living in Philadelphia. He was living in Montreal. It was a desire to live in the same city, check. Then we moved in together, and then we built a house together, check. And then we got pregnant and had a son, check. And then we got pregnant again. And I was like, while I was pregnant, needed a bigger house, check, right? Had the baby. And then we were like, we want 2 different houses. We don't want to be here all the time. We want to be in Arizona half the time, check, check, So yes, desires are always life-giving. They move us in directions.
Right.
Yeah.
So are desires like vision boards?
No, a vision board is a process, a small part of a process. I talk about that because we need to visualize, we need to imagine, we think in pictures, but it's one part of the principle of focus, which is the second principle in the 7 principles of desire. Desires are so much bigger than a vision board.
Okay. I just wanted to ask, because I know there's a lot. I mean, I've done vision boards. I've done dream boards. I mean, I think at some point, all of us on our journeys have done those.
It's a tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a tool. And I think what people need to understand, and probably the same thing with, the desire factor, is that sometimes they come in ways that we may not see or understand right away. Yeah. So, if I wanted, I said I wanted to go on a big trip, and I didn't realize it was going to come in the form of going to a national championship coming up in June. I've been to Las Vegas several times, but I didn't know it was coming this soon, that I was going to go again. But my daughter was invited to go play at nationals in Las Vegas. And so I'm like, okay, so they just come in different ways.
Forms.
Yeah, in different forms. So what is, I don't want to keep you too much longer, Christy. I appreciate your time. And what is something that you would like to leave everybody with?
Well, that every single person has the ability to be in alignment with our divine design, which is of a well-being and abundance and success and loving and supportive relationships. And energy mastery, really understanding how to master our own energy, is the key. And we can all do it. When you know how to properly do it, it becomes easy.
I absolutely agree. And if people want to, obviously your book is out now and they can get it.
Yes.
Is there other ways that they can work with you, or is the best way to work with you is just through your book?
Well, we have, the best place to start really is to get the book, because we have a 4-week course that's live and being taught in May, depending on when this is obviously airing. And so that's the first step, is working with the council in that way in a group setting. And there's group classes that we teach. We do meditation series, things like that. So we have a menu of options, a buffet, if you will.
Absolutely. That's amazing. So Christy, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Like I said, I had a moment on here. And so I thank you for that. And I thank you for sharing your new book, The Desire Factor: How to Embrace Your Materialistic Nature to Reclaim Your Full Spiritual Power. So I thank you for that. And just thank you for just being here today and sharing your incredible wisdom and your journey, and the council. And I look forward to, watching more, reading more, and just following you on your desire to be on Oprah.
Thank you. And thank you for all that you do. And thank you for following your desires.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it for this episode of Success You. But wait, there's more. For blogs, transcripts, and other free resources, visit SusanRKiley.com. You can also search for Susan R. Kiley on YouTube and social media for even more great content. Oh, and Susan would greatly appreciate a 5-star rating and review. It sure would mean a lot. Success U is produced by Susan R. Kiley